Now that we have our simple house made, let's go ahead and create some grass. So we're going to center our little magic point, hit add, mesh, and then plane. And we're going to drag our plane right below our house. And then we're going to hit S and scale it out, make it really big, covering up the entire view of the camera port. And we're going to go add a material, make our nice green grass, and take down the spectral because grass isn't too shiny. Okay, now that we have our grass in place, let's select the roof, and we're going to add a texture to it. So click over on the red and white checkered square, which is our texture, and in the type, we're going to select image. Okay, get a good view of the material. And we'll go click open, and we're going to search for our image. And what I'm using is I have an image of some roof tiles that I'm going to go ahead and drop in there. We're going to leave our presentation as flat, and then we're going to go down to diffuse and select intensity and bring the color down to roughly 0.3. This will allow our base color of the roof to show through those texture tiles we just applied to it. Now if you click on the house and hit tab to go into edit mode, we're going to select our door and we're going to add some texture to it. Make sure you actually are adding it to the material of the door and not the material of the house. So once again, we're going to add an image texture, and we're going to open up our wooden texture for the door. Okay, and once we have our texture added, we're going to go ahead and turn this into a cube. This will just make sure the wood texture shows through on every side. It's an easier way to do it instead of messing around with what angle it actually faces on. And we're going to hit F12 just to see what it looks like with our new texture. You can see the roof coming through, some nice tiles, and then some wood grain on the door. Okay, and we want to adjust our roof tile size because whenever we checked it out in the render, the roof tiles looked like they were a little bit too big. So we're going to half the size of the roof tiles, and we're going to double the size of the one on the door. And now we're going to add some grassy texture to our actual grass. And all of these textures will be available on my website, donovanh.com, in the example here, so you can download all those and use them if you feel like. Okay, so for the grass, we're also going to select intensity, and we're going to take it down just a little bit because we don't want a lot of reflectivity on our grass. And we're also going to bring down our color just a little bit to make our grass texture not overpower the grass color and sort of blend nicely. And you can see in the preview right there, we have sort of a nice green hazy blend. Okay, so now we're going to select our roof, and we're actually going to color the side panels. That way they don't have the same texture as our roofing tiles. And you can do this by using the select area tool, just selecting it and doing an assign on the material after it's selected. Next we're going to create a sidewalk, so once again go to add mesh and create a cube. Hit S then Z to scale it and make it really flat on its Z axis. And then hit S again once more, and then hit Y, and we're going to scale it on its Y axis to make it nice and long. Hit Alt D to make a copy of it. This will duplicate the object, then hit Control, and you can move it around a little bit. And we're going to scale this down to make the part of the sidewalk that actually attaches to the house. Once again, you can use Z to bring it into wireframe to make sure you get a nice even lineup. And now we're going to add our fence. We're going to start by using a cube to make a single post. And once we have that post, we're going to go into our modifiers panel, and we're going to click on add modifier, and what we're going to do is add an array, and this will create several copies of it. And you can go over to your arrays property and we can make 3 or 4 copies of the array. Since we want a side-by-side array of these objects, we're going to bump down the X array variable, and we're going to increase the Y array variable into 2. And you'll see this will make it so there's pretty much an even space in between all of our fences. And then we're just going to bump the count up until we have enough wooden plank fences to make a decent sized fence for our yard. And this is just one use for this technique too. Playing around with modifiers can often be fun, just experimenting with everything that you can really do with them. Okay, we're going to add a basic white color texture to our fence. Okay, now we're going to add boards to our fence, some backer boards here. So once again, just bring out another cube and playing with the scaling of it and the position of it, all stuff we've covered before. Once again, using Z to actually help line things up. I'm using that wireframe mode. Okay, now that we have a nice fence and a nice sidewalk, we're going to go ahead and go to add mesh, and we're going to have a UV sphere, and we're going to use this to make a door handle. So we're going to scale it down a little bit, and then we're going to scale it on its x-axis. So hit SX, and that'll make sure we have a nice flatter door handle. And then we're just going to push it into place. And after we have it in place, we're going to go ahead and add a nice copper material to it. So door handle material, and just a nice yellow with a little bit of dark tint to it. Okay, now we're going to make some panes for our window. So create a plane and rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis and 90 degrees on the y-axis. And then use your S tool to shape it. And remember, SX, SY, and SZ will let you make sure that something is scaled only on the X, Y, or Z axis. Okay, add a black material to your window pane and then hit Alt-D to duplicate it. Hit Control and then flip it 90 degrees on its Y axis, and you'll have a nice crossed window pane. And now we're going to make a chimney. So we're going to click Add Mesh, and we're going to drag our square over to right about where our chimney needs to be. We're going to hit SZ to increase the Z axis size, and we're going to add a base red brickish material for our chimney, and we're going to go over and add a brick texture. So we're going to go ahead and add the chimney texture. It's going to be an image, and we're going to go ahead and open this image from the library. And we're going to make sure we have a cubed projection mapping. This will make sure we have a nice brick texture all over our chimney. And next we're going to go into edit mode with our chimney. And what we're going to do here is we're going to subdivide the top of it, and this way we can design a nice pit for our chimney. Okay, so subdivide it and then select the center 4 pieces. And we're going to use that trick earlier about extrusion for hitting Control and then clicking your left mouse key. That'll allow you to pop out layers. So make sure you're centered above it, and then pop it out and drag it down. And then we're going to add a black texture to those 4 surfaces that we have selected right now. And that'll give us a nice black color down the side of our chimney. Okay, and when we hit render, we're going to have a nice house with some textures. And hopefully you guys learned a lot of cool techniques that you can use to make far better stuff than just a simple house. Once again, you can download an example package with all of the tiles that I've used and example Blender files from donovanh.com.